You shall not pass! Goss. Clever. I'm probably the first one to come up with that one. The Hobbit! The Battle of Five Armies. That's a lot of fucking armies. This is the third installment to the Hobbit trilogy. The first one I thought was boring. The second one I actually really enjoyed. This third one was okay. It was alright. It could have been better. If you want to know what this movie is, it's one long action sequence. I'm all for like cinematic escapism, like, you know, a visual feast, action, and just epic music. Like, that's all fun and nice, whatever. If that's all you really want, then you'll walk away satisfied. Maybe even more than satisfied. Like the ladies. But honestly, I couldn't help but get a little too bored a little too often. Like, don't get me wrong, there are good things about it. I just walked away really focused on what I didn't like about it. For starters, I was just kind of pissed off by the time the movie was over. I was literally mad. I punched the baby sitting next to me because the baby wouldn't shut up the whole time. Had nothing to do with the movie. Like, the first 10 minutes of this movie could have been the last 10 minutes of part 2. And by the time this movie was done, I was like, yep, did not need to be 3 movies. This could have easily been 2. I really feel like this movie lacked an emotion. Now, I could do a whole video of comparing this franchise to The Lord of the Rings. And honestly, whenever I do that, I just end up liking the Hobbit trilogy less and less. But can one really be blamed for comparing them? I mean, it's based on books by the same author, and it's from the same director. And at times, this movie seems so self-aware that it's a prequel to Lord of the Rings. It's really their fault you compare it, so fuck them. Not me. Unless you want to fuck me. But I got a girlfriend, so back the fuck up. But let me do my best to try to just stick into talking about this one movie. The Battle of Five Armies sometimes has more character than the first 2 films. Let's face it, that's really not saying much. The number one complaint about these movies lately is that Peter Jackson cares less about character and so much about visuals. Like, my favorite thing out of this trilogy is Bilbo Baggins, the fucking Hobbit. But early on in this franchise, I felt like they just kind of pushed his character to the side. He does like 3 things in this movie. And he's really just used to like move the plot along. But like by the end of his journey, I felt like it wasn't that rewarding. It's not like a heroic adventure tale of this guy. He's kind of like someone who just tagged along for the adventure and helped out every once in a while. But I really can't complain about the casting of Bilbo. Martin Freeman, still my favorite thing out of this trilogy. I just feel like these films would have been better if we got more focus on him. Thorin, the king of the dwarves, he annoyed the shit out of me. I'll admit, I haven't read the book, so I don't know whether or not to blame this complaint on the fucking source material or on the writers of this movie. But regardless, Thorin to me has always been an annoying little bitch. Ha. Little bitch, because he's a dwarf. And it's a rather 2-dimensional performance. It's not 3-dimensional. Imagine if the performance was 4-dimensional. Holy shit. What would that even be like? If I were to read a description of this guy, it'd probably read tough, brooding, asshole leader. And that is all he does, is just play those little qualities. Like, he's supposed to be the leader, the king. And I don't see anything of this dude being a leader I'd want to follow. Someone I'd want to rely on. He seems like a selfish dick. Like, all the time. And yeah, something happens where he becomes nicer and whatever, but dude, I really have to go through 2.5 movies to fucking get there. Although there is this like big action scene with him that I thought was pretty fucking awesome. Like, we've wanted it, where he fights the big pale orc. Like, that was a cool scene. Most of those armies in the Battle of the Five Armies exist because he's a fucking dick. He's the main character. I should be rooting for him. He's just really not that likable. I just want someone to punch him in his face. We're seeing some dwarf sex. I think this movie would have been a lot better if we had some dwarf sex. My favorite moments in this movie were actually the scenes that were not trying to be super epic. Not because I'm some analytical douchebag filmmaker wannabe. The best moments are when they just let the actors do their job, like have conversations and true interaction with each other. It's like whenever its characters are having a real talk with each other, this visually epic film is actually at its best when it's not doing that visual stuff. Because this movie is like, look how epic we can be! Everything tries to be so grand in scope. Like, it's one thing to look epic, it's another thing to have it feel epic. For something to feel epic, you gotta have real investment in the characters. I felt like this was just about moving the plot along and finding more ways to get action sequences in there. So yeah, if you're going mainly for the action, this movie's jam-packed with it, so you're gonna be happy. It just lacks so much an emotional investment that I was zoning out during battle sequences. The only thing worse than that is zoning out during porn. That's when you know you got a problem. And the nods to the Lord of the Rings, like how they delved into Sauron at that time. I didn't find it necessary in this franchise. It just wasn't necessary. The way they wrapped it up in this third one, like it was a cool visual sequence, but by the time it was done, I was like, I didn't learn anything new. Not saying it was bad, it just wasn't necessary. I know I said I wouldn't compare it to Lord of the Rings, but I keep fucking doing it anyway. But come on, I mean, that trilogy had amazing character. And I felt the visuals were even better. Whenever there was CGI, it was the right amount of CGI. But a lot of it was like practical effects, which made the world feel more authentic. This trilogy kind of felt like a cartoon. I just feel that after having great characterization backed up with awesome visuals and cool action in Lord of the Rings, they should have honored the concept of how important character is in this trilogy as well. It's hard trying to sound intellectual. So in conclusion, this film is a great technical achievement, but it just really lacked in grabbing hold of your emotions, so I wasn't even moved by the visuals. Damn it, Peter Jackson. What the hell happened to you? It's because you lost that weight. You need to get the fat back, man. Let me get straight to the point here. The Hobbit, the Battle of Five Armies, got it emotionally wrong. Alright guys, thanks for checking out my review for The Hobbit, The Battle of Five Armies. Why don't you go to that comment box and tell me, who would you rather have sex with, a dwarf or a hobbit? They're different. You know, yeah, they're both short, but one's hairier than the other. And who knows, you might be into the hairy thing. I'm not, but you might. And last but not least, if you want to get updated every time one of my reviews or videos is out, go ahead and click on this button on my dick to subscribe. That's right. The dick. Let me tell you something about this little hobbit. Every time he whips himself out, the little hobbit girls say, "That's the biggest hobbit I've ever seen." Get it? Because hobbits are short, and I'm calling my penis a hobbit, and they're saying it's a big hobbit. Saying I got a big penis. You know what? You try coming up with a dick joke every fucking movie review you do. If you like this film, good for you. Good for you. Doesn't make me wrong. Doesn't make you wrong. It's just the way you feel. I can't wait for how many people are going to call me a faggot for not liking this movie.